guys, welcome to the channel. For those of you that don't know, my name is Alina Smith. I'm a producer and songwriter for projects like ITZY, Red Velvet, Produce 101, Fall Out Boy, many others. And today I'm gonna be doing a video I'm really excited about. I'm going to be writing two songs, two choruses, and one will be Western style and one will be K-pop style. And I will show you guys basically my take on the difference between writing a song for the West, America, Europe, Australia, anything like that, and specifically Asian style songwriting like Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, that type of thing. So I'm super excited, but before we get going, I want to mention this video is sponsored by FOCUSRITE Collective. They are a small but powerful collection of plugins from Focusrite. They are all based on AI learning, which is really, really cool. I find this very exciting. Basically, I will talk about these plugins more and I will use them in this video to kind of highlight vocal production and different things you can do to make your vocals sound a little bit more Western or sound a little bit more like K-pop style. But yeah, basically these plugins these three are equalizer, compressor, and reveal. And basically what they do is this is AI machine learning compressor that listens to your audio and figures out the best way to compress it. Same for this EQ, you know, it's really, really easy to use. I'm excited to show it to you guys. And then reveal is basically like a relationship between two tracks. Like let's say you have a piano and you have a vocal. It will find the conflicting frequencies between the two and like balance them out. And the fourth plugin I'd like to mention of theirs is Fast Verb, which came out today. And it's also another really cool plugin that's based on machine learning. Basically, you feed audio into it, you know, keyboards, vocals, guitars, anything you want pretty much. And it analyzes it just like the other fast plugins and figures out the optimal reverb to put on it, which you can, of course, adjust after the fact. It's super, super cool. I'm excited to show it to you guys. And without further ado, let's just jump straight into this video. All right, guys, so I have this really, really simple beat that I've made on stream the other day. It doesn't have a lot of elements. This is all there is, but I kind of felt like this track could go either way, right? Obviously, I would have to elevate it and work on it, which is not the point of this video, but I thought kind of the bare bones of it sounded like it could go west or it could go east. So I'll play it for you guys, and hopefully you agree. Super simple. Like I said, it's just like some chords, some bass, a little bit of drums, but it does have a vibe, which I like. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to write two top lines, a Western style chorus and a K-pop style chorus. And I want them to be similar, like very, very similar, but different enough to where I can demonstrate what I believe the differences are between these two styles. So I'm thinking of using the same title for both the songs. And the word that came to mind is better. It's a very simple word, can have a lot of different meanings. And I think that's really important too, because I want to do two different meanings for the lyrics of this top line. So we will be looking at melody, we will be looking at lyric, and we will be looking at vocal production. So I'm very, very stoked. I'm just gonna jump straight into it. Okay, so right away I am hearing this sort of triad melody going down the scale, like da 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 da. And I actually think this is a great starting place because to me this is quite applicable to US style and K-pop style. In the Korean language, it takes more syllables to say things, right? Like if an English sentence, let's say, has like 10 syllables to say something, a Korean one might have 15, 20, 25. So that's why a lot of the times when you listen to K-pop, there's just a lot more melody, a lot more rhythm, because it takes more to say the things that you need to say in a lyric, right? To be like fully communicative. So I think da 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 is like enough movement to be K-pop, but it is also not so much that it sounds not Western. It also could be Western. So I think for this first part, I'm going to keep it the same. So, and now what I think I'm going to pursue is the Western style top line. So I'm going to go ahead and play with more melodies and sing you guys what I'm thinking. All right, so I kind of played around with it a little bit more. And if you guys have noticed this already, so I am kind of going for a lyricless top line melody at first. So I just want to nail down the melody and then I will write the lyric to it. Now I am trying to find a place to incorporate the title better. And I'm actually thinking for this Western style top line, I'm going to tweak the title to be Better Now, or at least like that will be the part, we can still call it better, just to keep it consistent. But what I'm thinking is something like this. Just basically repeating that. That is what I'm thinking for this type of top line. I do like that. It does have a little bit of catchiness with like, I know better now, and then repeating that a second time around, but it isn't like too many melodies or too much going on. So I'm gonna go and write a lyric to this and I will be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I have a lyric which I have tied into that I know better now tag. I will read you guys the words and I will explain why I went for this type of message and for this type of like style of lyric. So basically it's used to look for gold in the eyes of strangers, walking with a heart thinner than a paper. Held my breath, scared of being loud, but now I scream out because I know better now. Used to be the girl walking on her tiptoe, but now I'm in the fast lane, bringing in the big smoke. Broke my back, now I'm breaking out with a big bow because I know better now. All right, so I think this lyric is pretty good. I've definitely written better. Just being like very honest, I don't think it is bad by any stretch of imagination. I do think there's some fun moments in it. I'm just saying, like, usually for US style lyrics, I myself personally and the teams that I work with, we work really, really hard to nail that, like, every word really, and like make sure that everything isn't just like sounds nice or a good lyric, but that it all is super duper cohesive and has a very clear message. So I think this is like 80% there, but you know, I didn't want to take 5 hours to do it for a video. So what I'm trying to communicate here is basically I used to be a person that like let the world get me down, other people's opinions let me down, but I know better now because I've grown and I've taken my time. So I think it actually does do that. The reason I went with this kind of message is I think in the US generally, lyrically, things are more mature than they are in a lot of the K-pop. Not to say that K-pop is immature, it's just a lot of the bands are quite young. They are starting out when they're 15, 16 years old, like dropping their first single. So a lot of them are going for that high teen concept, like very like schoolgirl kind of vibes. So you can't go too mature with the lyric. It can't sound like a 20-something, a 30-something speaking. Otherwise, it doesn't really quite fit that concept. You know what I'm saying? But in the US, most artists, especially solo artists, are a good bit older. You know, they're somewhere in their mid-20s, late 20s when they're like really popping off. You know, and I'm seeing even older now. I mean, I'm 34. The trend is a little bit more mature artists, I think. So that's why I went with more of like, I know myself, I've grown, mature type of lyric for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and record this now and I'll show you guys what I would do to process this type of top line as far as EQ, compression, all of those things. Okay, I am back. I have recorded my top line, my Western top line. And what you guys need to know before I play this is I have absolutely no processing on it. So this is like auto-tune and that's it. Like there's nothing on it. So the reason I left all of that blank is I want you guys to be a part of this and I want to show you what I would do to make this sound proper for this type of song. So, but this is where it's at right now. Used to look for gold in the eyes of
strangers, walking with a heart thinner than a paper. Held my breath, scared of being loud, but now I scream out, 'cause I know better now. I used to be the girl walking on a tiptoe, but now I'm in a fast lane, bringing the big smoke. Broke my back, now I'm breaking out with a big bow, 'cause I know better now.
Okay, so as you guys can see already, before I get into the processing, there is not a lot going on. I chose not to do doubles. I wanted it to be kind of like that Kalani style, like very singular vocal, and just little stabs of backgrounds that come in. Now, these kind of things right here, I just hear these as like little spoken ad-libs. They definitely need processing, maybe telephone effect, maybe delay, just some kind of processing to make it vibey as opposed to just kind of sitting there, you know. And then these I hear is kind of like verb throws, distortion throws, those type of things. These just need to have like a nice background vocal processing on them.
I know better now.
And then, you know, these are kind of like, they come in with the vocal, but they have their own ending that kind of happens to swerve under it. So I really like it. I think this is kind of what we do for this type of style when it is by a US artist. We definitely do harmonies, but it isn't like an insanely wide, big arrangement, because most likely something like this would be sung by one person, right? Again, back to the lyric, we're talking about personal growth, right? It's kind of hard for a band to be like, yeah, you've grown and I've grown and we've all grown. It kind of makes it cheesy when one person speaks their truth this way. It is not, you know, it doesn't have that cheesy feeling. So I imagine that this as something for a singular artist, and that's why it isn't so harmonic. But let's jump into vocal processing now. Okay, the first thing I want to do here is just compress this vocal. It is, as you can see, pretty much uncompressed. Some parts are kind of like jumping out a lot. Some are a little bit quieter. So I'm going to use Fast Compressor by FOCUSRITE Collective. What makes this so cool is that it is an AI-based plugin, right? So this plugin is smart. Basically what it does is it learns your audio. You can feed the audio into it and it will analyze it and decide what is the best way to compress it, which I think is so cool, especially for people who are not, you know, engineers necessarily. They don't really understand compression. They don't really understand EQ. They just want it like right. They want to create, they want it to sound good, and they don't want to get too in the weeds about their processing. So I think this is so cool. The first thing I'm going to do is just learn it. So just let it kind of analyze what's going on.
Used to look for gold in the eyes of strangers, walking with a heart thinner than a paper. Held my breath, scared of being loud.
And already you can see that it has grabbed all of this information here and it's suggesting settings for me, right? You can have soft, compression, neutral, hard. I'm going to go for hard because I want this to be like a little bit crunchier, you know, that kind of like R&B vocal. And we can definitely adjust the input, output, that kind of situation here. And we also can just have this kind of simple mode, this fast mode, or detailed, where we can kind of like adjust the attack, which I probably would want like a longer release. I want it to stay compressed and I want it to attack right away, like pretty quickly. So yeah, and we could drag down the threshold as well, make it even more compressed. We can expand it a little bit. You know what I mean? It's up to you, but it is very, very simple. And just like this, we already have a compressed vocal. You know, this part right here, especially, which was really kind of like jumping out before. It's definitely a lot better. And one thing too, you can adjust kind of what you're telling it the source is. I chose vocal high because I'm probably guessing vocal low is like a male vocal. So, and it makes it nice and crispy. You know, already this sounds a lot more pop, so I'm happy with that. Okay, next I'm gonna use Fast Equalizer. Basically, this is the same kind of concept. AI analyzes your track and suggests a way to process it. So it works the same way. Basically, we just need to learn the information here. Used to be the girl walking on a tiptoe, but now I'm in a fast lane, bringing the big smoke. Broke my back now. All right, and see right here, it breaks it breaks the sonic spectrum into sub bass, low, mid, high, which is very, very helpful, especially for, again, like kind of newer engineers where you're like confused when you see this without this kind of labeling and this kind of help. And you can solo these frequencies too. So you can hear what it is too and really get a good idea. So, but yeah, it's the same kind of idea here. We can choose what this is, I would say vocal high probably, and we can choose a preset warm, neutral, or bright. I probably will go for bright for a style like this. Used to look for gold in the eyes of strangers, walking with a heart thinner than a paper. Held my breath, you can change the intensity, the gain. Look for gold in the eyes of strangers, walking with. I might actually go for neutral. Bright is like very bright. Used to look for gold in the eyes of strangers, walking with a heart thinner than a paper. Yeah, it's already really nice, and I can pull up this track as well because I kind of had to make it very quiet because my vocal before was so quiet. Used to look for gold in the eyes of strangers, walking with a heart thinner than. And I really love this detailed view as well, which is more of like a traditional EQ. It kind of shows what it boosts, and I can myself decide, like, let's say if I know my voice and I'm like, I don't really like around 1,000. I kind of feel like that isn't really a good place in my voice. I can just turn it down, or I can be like, it's a little bit too much sibilance. Let me kind of grab some of these frequencies right here. So for those that are a little bit more experienced at engineering, this is very easy, but if you kind of just want more of this kind of help, like I want a little bit less nasal vibes, a little bit less sibilance, you could just do it like in this window. Okay, I made a couple of adjustments, like a couple of breaths that I just kind of took down manually, tweaked a little bit of the EQ to make it a little bit softer, and I think it's sounding really, really good. I mean, it's honestly amazing. I have only 2 plugins, this fast compressor and fast EQ on this whole vocal group, and already it's sounding really nice and bright and crisp. The only thing I would say is it needs a little bit of a de-esser. I think the S's are not too bad. They're pretty good, but I would just go ahead and pop one in, and I would pop it in before this EQ. That way, when it pulls up all the brightness, it isn't as much of that. All right, so I pulled in our de-esser over here, putting it before the EQ, probably something like this. I like this frequency. This is really, usually works quite well for me. Let's hear it. I even like too much, maybe. Let's see. I just don't want to give myself a lisp. Yeah, that S right here. I'm a little too much, I think. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, so 3 plugins and we already have like a really nice chain. But the one thing I would say for Western style, especially this type of R&B, you definitely need some verb and some delay. You need it to be a little bit wetter because right now it's nice and crispy and like totally dry, and it kind of doesn't have that, I don't know, watery movement. I don't even know how to describe the feeling of when something just has that kind of processing. So I'm going to go ahead and use fast reverb. I think it's just called fast verb, actually. Yeah, fast verb, which is a brand new plugin by FOCUSRITE Collective. Also AI based, which is so cool. I don't think I've ever seen an AI based reverb. And I could talk about AI all the time. I think it's going to be the future of a lot of tech, just things that think for themselves and do things for you and hopefully don't take over the planet, like hopefully. So, but let's go ahead and use this. It's basically the same idea. You let it learn the source and it basically just immediately gives you some results. So it went ahead and chose a verb for us. I want to try to solo this so I can really hear what's going on. Used to look for gold in the eyes of strangers, walking with a heart thinner than a paper, held my breath. So I'm loving this already. I put this on a natural setting, and I would definitely put this on a vocal setting as well. This is very easy where we can turn the mix up and down and just kind of hear what exactly the verb is. Used to look for gold in the eyes of strangers. I do like that. I do like hearing the whole thing. I think I definitely want this to be a longer verb, like somewhere around 4 seconds. I want it to be a bit wider, like really just hit both the sides, please. I probably wanted to have a little bit of pre-delay, which we'll hear when we turn the mix down. Oh yeah, and look at what you can do here too. You can reverse it, which is so sickening. Ah, that's cool. That's sickening because we can do that as more like effects type stuff. Like, because you can even grab that, like freeze it, sample it, and create like an intro or something so interesting with that. I'm actually a big fan. Big fat fan, honey. I am into it. Oh, and then you can snap this to tempo as well. This is really, really helpful too because I haven't seen a lot of plugins do this. A lot of the times I have to use like a third-party app to try to figure out exactly what I need to set the pre-delay to because it doesn't sync to tempo. It just tells me like 90 milliseconds. I don't know what that means in terms of, 156 BPM. I have no idea. So I have to like use a translator app to try to figure that out, like a calculator app. And this already does that, which I think is sickening. I'm very, very into that. Yeah, and I love that it sets the time at 10 beats. That's so interesting. I'm kind of used to thinking of the time in terms of seconds, but for pre-delay, I think that's extremely helpful. Half a beat. That's so cool. I love that. Okay, so I actually don't want it reversed though for this. That was like a really fun moment, but I want to turn down the mix to 0 and then just bring it up really slowly until we find like a good balance of everything.
Used to look for gold in the eyes of strangers, walking with a heart thinner than a paper.
Yeah, I like something like that. Just like kind of soft, pretty. Big fan. Yeah, and then in the detail mode, we have some other settings as well, which I think are so fun. This kind of makes it phazier. It gives it like an illusion of being brighter, which I think is cool. I like that darker color. I love that. Yeah, I love the variability that it adds, the modulations. That's really cool. And then convert the reverb effect below this frequency to mono. This will help to keep the bass tight. I actually think that's amazing. Yeah, I would do everything under kind of like here, lower mids, because you don't want those muddy frequencies on the sides. It's kind of a lot, honestly.
Held my breath, scared of being loud, but now I scream out, cause I know better now.
I think that's beautiful. That really creates that space that I was looking for. Let's hear with the track.
Look for gold in the eyes of strangers, walking with a heart thinner than a paper. Held my breath, scared of being loud, but now I scream out, cause I know better now. Used to be.
I think that sounds great, and I would just add a little bit of like a bust out quarter note delay. I already kind of have one set up for my preset, which I highly recommend having your own preset for certain styles. Like this is for pop. I use this replica delay that basically is really simple. It's just on quarter notes, and I have it panning with Pancake by Cable Guys from left to right. And then I just have like some additional plugins like a doubler I can throw on it or mute, like an aging isotope vinyl I can throw on it or mute, which I think for this actually making it a little bit aged like telephone effect would be fun. Let's hear that just kind of soloed. I think something like that's really good. It's kind of under there. It's not super noticeable, but if you take that and the verb away, the difference is startling. It's going to sound so dry and kind of off. So I'm a really big fan of how this is sounding. So, and then the only other thing is I would just process these backgrounds a little bit differently. I do like them in this group with the leads. I think that's a very simple, like, easy way to process BGVs. I don't always do that. I sometimes put them in totally their own groups, but especially if you're trying to save CPU and not have like so many plugins in your session, this is a good shortcut. I would just maybe brighten these up a little bit to give them a different space to sit in, and then also maybe put a little bit more verb on it. So I'm just thinking like a 1073 legacy, like very simple UAD kind of vibe here.
I know better now.
That's good. I'm gonna take that off. There's like a little bit of a sound of me hitting the keyboard at the end. I was going really fast when I was recording this. There you go. And I would definitely turn these down as well. We could use something like center too to kind of spread it left, right, so it's not competing with the lead vocal. You know, there's something like this a little bit. Yeah, and I would maybe just put a little more verb on it. You guys know I like this verb a lot, this Valhalla vintage. You know, not too much because we already have a verb on the group, so pretty. That's good. Yeah, I like how that sounds. I would even turn it down a little bit more. I kind of don't want it to be like too loud. And that's another thing. I think for when I do the K-pop style one, it's going to be a little bit of a louder background vocal because it probably will be something for a band, because there's a lot more bands in Korea and other Asian countries than there are in America. I mean, how many like groups can you think of? There's not very many. So, I will probably crank the backgrounds louder than they are right here. But here, because I'm envisioning this for solo artists, you know, just having them as a layer, something pretty, but not overwhelming. So, and yeah, just for these, it's really nice. I kind of just want this to be like really kind of overloaded with verb, just kind of in the background. So I'm just probably going to use this spaced out. And I kind of want this to be a little more muted too. Oh, it's long. She is a long girl. Maybe a little bit shorter. And then just kind of muting it a little bit. Yeah, something like that, and like very quiet. You know what I mean? It's just, it's like you barely even perceive it. It's just kind of in the background. And it panned it a little bit to the left. I probably would pan one here and one there, but it's all right for now. And then I honestly, just these like strangers or whatever I'm saying, kind of spoken things, I would just put iZotope Final on it. This is like my go-to one-trick pony. This is a free plugin. Please get it. Like, it's no skin off your nose. It's free and it's so good. But yeah, it's just gonna make this sound like this. Scream out, yeah. It's good. I like it. All right, so this is sounding really, really close to me. The only thing I want to do is basically open up some space for the vocal, because I think right now, even though this is a really light kind of track with not a lot going on, I think this pad right here and this kind of like pluck thing, it is sort of in the same frequency as my vocal, right? So there are many ways to do this, but what I really want to do is I want to try Fast Reveal, which is another one of these nifty AI plugins that are basically helping you by analyzing the frequency range and what is going on, what is popping up and down, and kind of adjusting it in real time for you, which is so cool. So I'm gonna make a group here, just call it tonals. It's very simple to make work. Basically, you just choose right here the side chain to be the vocals. Okay, here we go, vocals, and learn it just like we did with the others. All right, and it basically already learned it, and what we can do is we can kind of figure out what it's ducking and how it's ducking it. So we can definitely make it a vocal sidechain profile. Yeah, and we can basically choose like light, balanced, heavy ducking, you know, and just see. Nothing. And that, you know, that kind of got rid of that pluck almost too much. So I would probably go for balanced and somewhere in the middle. You know, that way the vocal is really living in the middle. You can hear it. You can still hear these things. And obviously you have to be kind of like conscious of what you're wanting this to be like. This is very much, to me, like gives you a great starting point and you can adjust it. But I actually really liked how that sounded. I felt like it really opened up a lot of space. So let's just hear this whole chorus and see how it feels. I love it. I think what we've learned from this is I went for a solo artist vibe. So I really emphasized the vocal, the lead main vocal, didn't do too many background vocals, really kind of washed it out with some verb, with some delay, had that kind of like watery feeling to it, which I think really fits this song, this track, this vibe. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. And now I'm gonna go ahead and write a totally different version of this song in K-pop style. So I'm thinking of keeping the track the same except for one chord. If you guys follow a lot of K-pop, listen to a lot of K-pop, you probably know that musically it's really complex, like beautifully complex, and there are a lot of really interesting changes that happen in it. So I just went ahead and I added an augmented chord at the end of this bar 8, I believe. Yeah, you will hear what I'm talking about. Like, I'll just play it from here. Right there. Right there. So it's just a tiny little tweak, but it's definitely going to help me, I think, kind of nail this and make this a little bit more K-pop. Now, what I'm thinking is still using the concept of better, but this time using it in more of a romantic kind of context, right? Because the other song was all about self-empowerment, growth, like very personal message. But because this, I imagine, would be sung by a band, like a soulful band, maybe Stacy, maybe Weekly, Red Velvet kind of vibe, where there's a lot of R&B influence. And because it's a band, I want the concept to be a little bit broader and not so personal. So I'm thinking something like love you better, love me better, something like that. So I'm gonna just kind of hum and try to figure this out. Okay, so what I'm thinking is keeping the first two lines melodically. So basically, but right here, I want to just switch it up a little bit, because in the Western version we had but I think that repetition doesn't sound K-pop to me, so I'm thinking just a little bit more of a melody right there. And then from the fourth bar, I want to do something quite a bit different. So I'm thinking of maybe going higher, like something like that. A little bit more of an opportunity for a singer with a big voice, because you know there's always one in a K-pop band. A little bit more of an opportunity for them to kind of show off. And then right here on the second half of the chorus, the Western version went back to right? But I'm thinking of doing something totally different here. And give me a second to figure that out. Okay, I'm back. So I think what I want to do here on the second half is like a totally different melody. And I'm thinking like, you know, a little bit more syllables too, because as I mentioned, you know, the Korean language, it takes more syllables to say things. So just adding more of those rhythms. You know, so this is kind of the general overview. I'm thinking, let me kind of work on the lyric and I will be back and hopefully have something that makes sense. All right, I'm back. I wrote something that I think works, and basically it is like I said before, I went with love you better. Basically like a simple, really simple concept of a couple is experiencing difficulties not connecting, and the person saying, hey, like, what's going on? Like, I want to make this work. So, which I think for K-pop, I've heard a lot of different styles, obviously, within K-pop, but for, I think this sound, having just like a simple romantic concept with simple lyrics is good, because also remember, they are going to translate it to Korean. So it has to be something that kind of makes sense to them, that isn't too, like, using too many metaphors from the English language, or like very specific American metaphors or sayings, right? Because that's when it kind of can be like a little bit off-putting. I think there's a lot of variation in the lyric, but I do like keeping things simple, and I do see a trend where simple works, and simple's worked for me in the past with songs I have had cut in Korea. So I'm thinking, I can see the light fading when you kiss me, and I'm so scared because I don't want to lose you, baby. I'd do anything to see you smile, and I will try forever to love you better. Hold you tight, treat you right, give you my all. Light a fire, take a dive deep inside your soul. We can clear the air of all this bad weather, because I will try forever to love you better. I just rattled this off really, really fast. You might have to put me on halftime to understand what the heck I'm saying. But I think this works. It's very simple, and I think would be fairly easy to translate this concept. So I'm gonna go ahead and record this, and I will see you guys in a minute here. All right, I am back, and I have recorded this K-pop style chorus. I will play it for you guys. I did use most of the settings of this vocal processing that I did on the other one, but with a few little differences. So let's just hear.
I can see the light fading when you kiss me, and I'm so scared 'cause I don't wanna lose you, baby. I'd do anything to see you smile. Try forever to love you better. Hold it tight, treat you right, give you my all. Light a fire, take a dive deep inside your soul. We can clear the air up on this bad boy. 'Cause I will try forever to love you better.
Okay, all right, so this is where this is sitting right now. I do really like it. I think the reason I think this is much more K-pop is because of all of the switch-ups, right? Because the Western style song did this melody twice, right?
I can see the light.
And then when it came to the second half of the chorus, it went back to but this goes into this.
Hold you tight, treat you right, give you my all. Light a fire, take a dive deep inside your soul.
Right? It goes into a whole other part, which is a big thing in K-pop. They just really, really like to kind of switch things up, right? Because a lot of bands have like 5 members, 9 members, like 12 members. Sometimes it's like huge bands of a lot of people in them, and everybody needs their moment. It can't be too similar sounding, the melodies, otherwise nobody gets like a special part, right? So it's good to switch things up. So that's why I went ahead and did that. And even like little switch ups like this, wanna lose you baby, as opposed to wanna lose you baby, which is what the other melody did in the other song. These little things, they really make a big difference, make it sound a little bit more K-pop, to me at least. Now, and then as far as vocal production, immediately you can see I went for more vocal. I have these leads here, obviously.
I will try forever to love you better.
But I have 2 doubles left, right, of all of this.
See the light fading when you kiss me, and I'm so scared 'cause I don't wanna lose you, baby.
I strongly recommend this for K-pop. If you're pitching songs, make it sound like a band, right? Make it sound more than just one voice. And I honestly would probably even do more. This is very much like me doing it for a YouTube video version. I might even do 2 more doubles, might have another singer do a double. If I had a co-writer in here, absolutely. And then as far as background vocals, you can see how many more parts there are. And this is still, like, I went light just because I wanted to show you guys the idea, not like the final thing. But even like this kind of part right here, you know, we've got a bunch of parts right here. We've got 3 parts basically in 2 instances of each part. And then right here too, we've got some coming in, and they're very much like kind of background vocals that aren't just necessarily repeating the lead, right? Like if the lyric is kiss me, it isn't just kiss me, it's ooh, kiss me. So it's like a little bit more movement, and the background vocals have a space of their own. Because again, remember, all of those members that are singing them are important, and it's important to showcase them, even if it's not a lead part. And same here. Instead of just going baby or something like that, it's that way in the music video, let's say, they can show the girls being like, na, 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 right? It's like a part that's sticky. So, and then this right here, this is like a with background vocal, like with the lead, just kind of doubling the smile. And this one as well. Love you better, because that's the hook, and we definitely want to emphasize that with the background vocals. I honestly would do like 2 more parts. Love you better, love you better, like, you know, all of those. Like I did kind of like the 2 main ones because I was going fast, but I think if I were like producing this out to actually pitch it, I would do a stack, honey. I would do a stack right here in this spot. And then right here we do like just like a little bit more again of like these sticky moments. You can imagine the girls being like in the background as the lead singer is singing all of this. So that is basically kind of the main theory behind this, and I did do the same kind of idea as the other song where I kind of had like the vinyl, like, or whatever I was doing. But those background vocals were a little more like, I was almost like mumbling, being like, These are very, like, I'm trying to be cutesy with it. Come on, boy. Like a little bit more, like, I'm a teenage girl, like, cute vibe, right, for this kind of style, because obviously this is not girl crush, this is not like like I'm a badass chick, it's not that, it's very like pretty. So keeping the ad-libs very pretty, like what is this, like not like woo, right, because sorry if that was loud. You could do it like that, or you can be like woo, like a little more like girly and pretty. So that's that's the thought process behind it. Kiss me. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that is the K-pop style top line. As far as mixing, honestly, the only thing I did is I took off the reverb and I turned down the delay, right? Because the other one, I wanted that washy feeling. This one, I wanted to kind of be a little bit drier and for the vocals to like stand out. Because again, very important in K-pop to make all the singers stand out. So you can hear kind of the difference of the processing here.
I can see the light fading when you kiss me.
And then the background vocals are like loud. They're loud, they're there. And if you listen to this,
I know better now. It used to be
and then even like the kind of approach to something like, I know better now. I'm a little bit more like swaggy the way I'm singing it, and the way this is like fading when you kiss me. Like very cute. Cute is a word. So if you listen to like the first two things, like the first two melodies that are the same, you can really hear the difference here.
used to look for gold in the eyes of strangers, walking with a heart thinner than a paper. I can see the light fading when you kiss me, and I'm so scared 'cause I don't wanna lose you, baby.
It's loud, it's louder, it's bigger, it's drier, it's very vocal forward, while this one is like vibe forward. It's very like, like we're just vibing, we're talking about our feelings. We're here, it's like really like, we're pretty, we're cute, we're singing, pay attention. Yeah, I hope I made this pretty clear. Basically just more melody, more parts, more background parts for sure, more forward, less reverb. Those are kind of the main cornerstones. Chord change right here, something a little bit unexpected, like a sus chord or an augmented chord, just to really lift it, where in American music, that doesn't often happen. All right, guys, and that's pretty much it. This is my take on the difference between Western style songwriting and K-pop style songwriting. If you guys have questions, as always, leave them down below. If you like this video, please give it a like, because that really helps me and helps the channel grow. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.